Not so bare. Your weekends are empty, waiting to be filled, waiting for excitement and things to go ahead. Like Volvo's brand new car event, where you can get 0% APR finance and 3 years servicing for just £99. So show your calendar some love by booking a virtual appointment between now and 8th of March. Visit volvocars.co.uk to book your place and find out more about our further savings. Volvo, our showroom doors may be closed, but our virtual ones aren't.
Available on new cars only, participating retailers. 50% deposit on minimum £8,000 conditional sale. Terms, eligibility, guarantee requirements and conditions apply. Volvo Car Financial Services. Servicing offer, T's and C's apply.
This is LBC with Sheila Fogarty.
Let me read some of the texts and tweets that you've sent in before I talk to Simon in Southampton about whether this Harry and Meghan interview with Oprah Winfrey should continue to go ahead despite the Duke of Edinburgh's illness. Why should Harry pause his work because his granddad is resting and responding to treatment at 99 quotes? Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I do love the kind of sarcasm that comes from sometimes. At 99, he'll spend what's left of his life doing just that. The chances are, Sheila, says Roger, that this interview with Oprah Winfrey was recorded before the Duke of Edinburgh fell ill. I don't doubt it was. The Sussexes would have very little control over its airing, I feel. You might be right. You might be right about that. Katie says, Harry and Meghan are receiving again an absolute avalanche of abuse for an interview that hasn't aired yet. The abusing voices aren't concerned about the health of the Duke of Edinburgh or the Queen, but want to get in first with a kicking before their behaviour is highlighted, says Katie. Simon's called from Southampton on this. Hello, Simon.
Afternoon, Sheila. Oh, God, it's pathetic. There's an element of people in this country who are just so desperate to keep things how they were. You know, the people that would have Charles and Diana China teacups.
Did you not get one? I got one during the wedding when they got married in 1981.
Well,
I got a mug.
I expect we had one somewhere, but it was different times back then, and people in this country have got to move on. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I would have thought that most of the people that are objecting to the Harry and Meghan situation probably voted to Brexit. You know, we have this country of just infuriating so much, and you know, I don't understand them. It's like the woman that phoned up the other day, and you know, I just felt so sorry. I think it's getting to a stage now I'm a fan, as it were, never have been, attitude towards the is the Queen comes across.
Hang on, I'm not having that. Hang on. Way more than she's extraordinary, I think. Extraordinary.
I don't know, she just strikes me as a nice old lady. And as for Harry and Meghan and William and Kate, they just come across as just decent human beings. That's as far as it goes with me. There's no more, no less, and I think that we'll find that in the next few years, when inevitabilities happen, the whole royal thing will start to fall apart, and quite right too.
Well, you see, I don't aspire. I don't buy into it will or should fall apart, because I think done properly, it's a really good thing for the country, actually, done properly. But I do think at the heart of it, we still have this slightly problematic, unhealthy relationship that sometimes cuts both ways. Rachel was evidence of it. That call the other day, I think, was evidence of it. But I'm really interested to speak to Peter Hunt. I'm going to soon. Peter Hunt, former BBC Royal correspondent, who's now an independent commentator, and he wrote a piece in The Spectator the other day about Harry and Meghan and how he thinks the palace machine did get it wrong here, that they had a prime opportunity to invite a real and sort of modern 21st century exemplar couple into the centre of the royal family, not taking away from William and Kate, who will be king and queen. If it all lasts that long, they'll be king and queen sometime. Not about that, but just bringing them into the fold in a way that allowed them more leeway about how they did that job. Now, of course, there was a big debate about how they earn the money, and that matters because you can't have conflicted interests and all the rest of it. But I'm minded to agree with him that there was a great opportunity here that the royal machine has missed.
The women's first thing they've got wrong. I mean, to be honest, I mean, all right, let's say it. I don't actually really understand the relevance of the Queen in this day and age. Now, we've just gone through a period where, in my opinion, with regards to Brexit, we have had our country damaged. We have had our country just drop the flag wavers. Now, to me, I would have, my ears would have pricked up if my Queen had turned around and said, excuse me, this is my country and you're not going to do this. But she doesn't say.
She can't do that. That would be absolutely unconstitutional.
So what's the point in them?
They are all seen, I'll tell you what the point is. They are externally, as in outward facing out into the world, are most important diplomats in many ways, certainly our most well-known diplomats, and they are inward-looking into the UK. If you just look at the diaries of the main royals, and you might find it boring and laughable and sneer at the fact that they go to the opening of a cake factory, or they go to the opening of, I remember years ago as a reporter in Liverpool covering the opening of a new sewage treatment works. Princess Anne opened it, and she was a hoot. She had some brilliant jokes, tread the line between scatological jokes and being a royal really well, I thought. And, those things, when they go to the guide groups and the scout groups and the opening of this and the supporting of that and the war patronages and everything, whatever, supporting charities, what's wrong with that? That keeps the threads in quiet, invisible ways sometimes, Simon. That keeps the threads of our society, together. Knitted together. I think it's important. I think you can absolutely see it in the light I've just described. You're not obliged to. You could think it's a load of nonsense, but I don't think it's a load of nonsense.
I just think that there are more important things. I think, for example, I would have more respect for a queen that was to stand up and say, nobody in my country is going to be homeless and on the streets. Nobody in my country is going to be hungry. There's just more important things that don't get done.
I think you misunderstand a constitutional monarchy if you think the Queen's job is to say, this isn't happening on my watch. What they do, if you look at what Prince Charles has done, for example, with the Prince's Trust, is use whatever influence they have in the proper way to, there are arguments about whether Charles has always done it in the proper way, but certainly in the Prince's Trust, if you look at what that has achieved for people over the years, it's brilliant. And if you look at what Harry has achieved with Invictus, brilliant. If you look at what Diana achieved on a number of fronts with AIDS, with landmines, and just with the joy and the pleasure they bring people when they visit as well, I really don't think that's to be sneered at. And of course there are, quotes, more important things. But, I think they're pretty important things as well. And I think that is a quiet part of what the royal family do. Not just the main members, but that's a quiet part of what they do. And I think it matters. I do think it matters. I think it's any state that wanted to wash that element away would be doing itself a damage. Thank you, Simon. Joe in Norwich. Hello there.
Good afternoon, Sheila.
Hello.
I was actually in the Coldstream Guards. I've guarded Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace, Windsor Castle, Tower of London. But I've been watching the Oprah Winfrey thing. I saw a clip of how he feels so sorry for himself and how hard he had it. This is during this is during a pandemic when so many people have lost their lives and all the families that are associated with everything.
To me, that's the lack of wisdom. What you land on there, Joe. Yeah, I think it is unwise to have done this and the James Corden thing, while in the United States and the UK, hundreds of thousands of people are either they're dead or ill because of this thing, or in lockdown.
Yeah, and that's why I won't be watching it. And I do think I love listening to you, but previously I think you tried to rewrite history.
Have I?
Yeah, well, saying Harry was hounded out of the army because of the press and everything. Let's just try.
I didn't say he was hounded out of the army. I said once his role in Afghanistan was made public by the press, it was a security issue and he had to stop doing it.
He had 6 SAS guardsmen around, SAS guards protecting him at all times. But the fact is, he was already promoted beyond. He's a nice bloke, right? But we are talking about somebody who's had the finest education money can buy, and walks away with, I think he had a B in art and a B in geography in A levels. That's it. That's the finest he was a captain in the army, and he's probably promoted beyond his ability. And I think there's no way that
How do you know that?
make it. Well, because normally you wouldn't have got to where he was with them qualifications.
But I bet you couldn't say what the qualifications are of other captains in the army that you know of, can you?
I think they'd probably be.
But you don't know. This is the thing. We just create.
There is a selection criteria. I was a guardsman, right? I was like bottom of the rank. I'd be like 20 ranks below him, with better qualifications than him. So I've got 4 A levels. And I did that from a comprehensive school. There was no way they'd let him go to major commanding a company and then commanding a battalion. We're talking, a battalion's like 700 blokes under him.
I certainly didn't suggest that he was. I just said that the career that he had and wanted and loved was curtailed because of that role in Afghanistan being found out. It just was, Joe. That's just indisputable. But I really agree with your point about the pandemic making it a very bad time to do such an interview. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Thank you, Joe, for your call. Joe in Norwich. Marcus very kindly says, just wanted to say thank you, Sheila, for your opening remarks just now on Prince Harry's story. Amazingly put. Well, thank you, Marcus. I mean, it's just my personal take on what happened when they were 12 and 15 and their mother died, and what's led to that, how elements of all of that have fed into people's attitudes to them for good or ill. More of your calls in just a few moments. It's 2:31. Let's get the headlines from Thomas Woods.
The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, says officials are closing in on a missing case of the Brazilian variant of coronavirus in the UK. The positive result, one of 6 identified last month, has been narrowed down to 379 households in the southeast of England. The number of weekly registered coronavirus deaths in England and Wales has fallen to the lowest level since the start of the year. Fatalities fell by more than a quarter in the week ending February the 19th, with a steeper drop in over 80s. 4 people will go on trial in December, accused of pulling down a statue of slave trader Edward Colston in Bristol. They've all pleaded